My name is Derek Bovey. I work here as our Technical Product Manager. So I'll be walking you through all the new features in ZoomText 10.1, showing it to you on a Windows 8 machine. It happens to be a Surface Pro, so you'll see that as well. So here's what we're going to cover. First thing we're going to do is I'm just going to verbally go over the feature set, what's new in ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8, and then we'll jump into the live demonstration. We'll show you things like how ZoomText looks and reads on the start screen, support for the new platforms IE10 and Office 2013, and then some of the new features as well. And then we'll end the live demonstration with a demo of our touchscreen support. Now I know it might be a little bit difficult because you're not going to see my hands on the screen, but I'll do my best to describe what I'm doing and where I'm touching when we do that. We did have a recorded video of our touchscreen support where you can actually see my hands touching the device. So if that's important to you, refer to that webinar on our website. And then after that, we'll open up the Q&A and see if you have any questions for us. So let's first talk about all the new features, and there's at least one that's not mentioned here that I'll bring up. But first, we have our new support, new platform support, obviously Windows 8, Internet Explorer 10, and Microsoft Office 2013. I can show you ZoomText working in both IE10 and Office during the presentation. One of the really big new features is touchscreen support. If you ever tried to use a touchscreen device in ZoomText on Windows 7, you would have noticed that where you touch doesn't correlate to what you're looking at. So this is a brand new feature only available on the Windows 8 product that allows you to use a touchscreen device. And it does work as you'd expect. Whatever you're looking at on screen, if you touch that with your finger, it'll activate that. So no worries about it being offset and being difficult to use. A few other new things that we added some smooth mouse pointer enhancements, so they no longer have harsh edges or jagged edges. You can see that in all the enhancements. The color enhancements now fade in and out, so when you turn them on, instead of just this kind of jolt between, you know, having an enhancement on and off, you'll see it kind of fade in and fade out. Another big thing is we made some major changes to our magnification engine, which the end result of that is better performance when using ZoomText in a hardware-accelerated application. A good example of that is something like a YouTube video, which can utilize your video card hardware, or if you're using a 3D modeling software. A lot of those are hardware-intensive, and when you're running ZoomText in older versions, that hardware couldn't be utilized when ZoomText is running. Now, in ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8, that is no longer the case. And we've also added some improved tracking and program echo support thanks to a new technology called UIA. One last thing that's not mentioned here is we've added some new magnification levels to ZoomText 10.1. There are some new fractional powers, which I'll walk through with you. I think we've got 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8x, 2.25, 2.75, and 3.5x as well. Actually, is 4.5 in there? Yeah. 4. So a lot of fractional levels in between 1 and 5x. And we've also added some extremely high magnification levels, 42, 48, 54, and 60x. The reason we added those, and I probably won't show the really high ones because at the screen resolution I'm using, you can't even see the whole number on screen. It's so big. But the reason that we added those larger magnification levels is you're starting to see some very ultra-high resolution displays coming out on the market, which are some of which are double the resolution of displays that are out on the market right now. So that means you're going to need more magnification to see things at the same size that you're used to right now. Okay, so that's why we added some of those levels, make us a little bit more future-proof to newer technologies that are coming out. All right, so that's the feature set. And now we're going to go ahead and jump right into the live demo. Now, one thing I'll mention before we start the demo, since we are demonstrating this to you live over the internet, it's likely that there's going to be a little bit of latency or lag on your end. So you may see things as I talk about them and as you hear them a little bit behind visually what you're looking at. Unfortunately, there's no real way around that. So if it looks a little herky-jerky on your end, just be aware that that has to do with our internet connection and not how you would see ZoomText in real time. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here. And we've got Windows 8 with our start screen showing up right now. And first thing I'm going to do, actually I'll just pan the screen with my mouse. You can see obviously that we're magnified. And our font smoothing is smoothing all of the text on all of these tiles here. ZoomText is the only magnifier on the market that has what we call X font, or basically print quality text at any magnification level in Windows 8. We are the only product that is able to smooth the fonts in Windows 8 so that they look this good. Now, along with the font smoothing technology, if I turn on speech enabled, and I start arrowing through some of these tiles.
People, desktop, messaging, weather 82, Mumbai, hazy sunshine, 82/77.
Okay, you'll see that it reads the content in those. Now, some of these tiles, like the weather tile here, you'll see is constantly updating. It's changing locations and giving me new information. Now, when you get to that tile, it's going to read to you the most current information that's there. So if I back out over here, and
weather 79, Paris, fair, 79.
Okay, so it showed Paris in the tile, and once I arrowed over to it, it read me the information that's there. So even though these tiles live update, and this one is updating a lot quicker than most you would see. Like if you had a news tile, for example.
Bradley Manning sentenced to 35 years.
You know, that might not update as frequently. But the important thing I just want to note is that whatever the current information is in the tile, ZoomText will read back to you, okay, as you arrow along through those. So this start screen experience is one of the brand new things that you're going to see in Windows 8. Once you log on to the machine, this is the interface that you're presented with. So from here, you can do a number of different things. If you want to get back to your regular Windows desktop, there is a desktop icon here that you could click on, or what I usually do, I use the Windows key D hotkey to bring up the desktop. Okay, and now we're back at our familiar desktop. One thing you'll notice is that there's no start button. If you go to where the start button is, you'll see that it brings up this icon that says start, and it's a little graphic of the start screen view. So if I click that, we go back to our start screen interface. All right, so that's a real big difference in Windows 8 is how you get to your start menu is a little bit different than before. But again, as I mentioned, if you go to the desktop view, Windows key D, looks just like you are already familiar with. Here's our ZoomText UI. It's already running. It's also got an icon down in the taskbar here as well. Okay. Now, one thing I'll show you real quick. So let's say we wanted to go to Internet Explorer 10. Now, I do have an icon down here that I could just click on. But if I was on my start screen, to access applications, you can just simply start typing in the name. So Internet, and now the list of items is going to be to the left. All right, and one easy way to get there is I can just press the down arrow key on my keyboard. Whoops, actually, there's only one result. So I think if since there's only one result, it's going to be over here. So here's Internet Explorer. I can click on that, and it will open IE. Okay, and let's go open it in the, let's open it from our desktop here. Windows 8 is a little confusing because it has two different views depending on how an application is written. So one is kind of like this full screen view, which almost looks like a mobile application, and the other is a desktop view like a normal Windows application. So sometimes it can get confusing. But this is Internet Explorer 10, just to show you. If I open the Help menu, and you can see it says what's new in Internet Explorer 10. If I open the About box, see it's 10.0.9200. All right. So we do have our font smoothing working in Internet Explorer 10. Again, something that nobody else has. And the reading tools will work as well if I start App Reader.
Low vision access. AI Squared offers a range of screen magnification.
Okay, you see how fast that was to start as well. I was using the read from pointer command, which is Alt-Shift left click. And now we're going to cover the touchscreen features in a little bit, but you might notice this icon in the upper left. I'm just going to touch it with my finger, and you can see that I can move this around. Okay, so I can move this to a different corner if I wanted to. This icon is going to be used for the ZoomText touch support. If you don't want it to show up, you can easily disable it by going to the Settings menu. And there's an item here that says Touch Screen Support. And there's a checkbox that says Enable Touch Icon. If I click that, you'll see that the icon disappears. All right, so if you're working on a non-touch device, you can easily turn that off so that it's not in your way. But we'll talk about that in just a little bit. All right, so I showed you Internet Explorer 10. Let's check out Office. I'll type in Office. Now we've got 4 results. If you look under the search term, it says Apps 4, Settings 0, Files 1. Those are the results. If I hit the down arrow, it'll go through any of these results here. Actually, it doesn't have any that I want, so I want to type in Word, not Office. And so we have 2 results. If I turn on speech, and I'm sorry, I've had speech disabled because I don't want it talking over me.
Speech enabled.
But if I have it enabled and I were to arrow through these results,
Word 2013, Word tag.
You'll see that it reads those titles to you. So let's go ahead and open Word. So I'll just select it and hit the Enter key. It opens the application in our desktop view. And so this is just asking me if I want to use a template here. I'm just going to use a blank document. Okay. So you've got this open. You can see that all of our enhancements are working, like the cursor enhancement. This is Office 2013. You can tell by the different layout here of the tabs. Looks a little bit different visually. And if I start typing.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar on ZoomText 10.1 for Windows.
Okay, and you can see that our typing echo works as well. Reading tools like App Reader.
Hello and welcome to today's webinar on ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8. Edit document.
Okay, so everything works.
Hello and welcome to
everything works as you would expect it to with this new version of ZoomText. So again, we added support for IE10 and Office 2013. As you can see, all the magnification and speech features are working. You've got the font smoothing working here as well. And now might be a good time to go through some of those new magnification levels with you while we've got this document open. I'm going to go all the way out to 1x to start, so no magnification. And so the new fractional levels, you've got 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, before you get to 2x. Remember, previously we had 1.25, 1.5, and 1.75, so you've got a little bit more gradation there. 2x, 2.25 is new. 2.5 we had before. 2.75, 3x, 3.5, 4, and 4.5x are all new magnification levels. One thing I want to mention, for those of you that are very observant, you may notice that the fractional levels in the older version of ZoomText look slightly different than the full magnification powers. That is not the case with ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8. All the magnification levels are going to look as crisp and clear as the other levels do. That's not the case in the Windows 7 product. It's a little bit different, the magnification engine, but the end result is with this new version of ZoomText, your magnification quality is going to look better than what you've had in the past. Okay, so that's one thing to just be aware of. Now I'm going to try and go to the higher levels so you can see them, but again, when you're up really high, so 36, 42, 48, and this is really hard to tell where anything is. Yeah, I've already lost my spot here. So as you can see, if you need these magnification levels, and now we're at 54 and finally 60x. You You can see 60x is just giant. Okay, I can't even, it's hard for me to even get that whole thing in view. In fact, I can't. One thing to note is that the mouse pointer, notice that the mouse pointer is staying at a constant size here, which is nice because it's not obstructing my entire view, and I apologize for my difficulty here getting this down. There we go. One downside to these tablets is they don't have a full keyboard, so I don't have a number pad, so it's difficult for me to use hotkeys on this, so I'm really reliant on the mouse right now. So again, those are all the new magnification levels that are in the product. Now, the pointer enhancements, let me put this back to normal and just zoom it up a little bit. Okay, so previously in older versions of ZoomText, when you turn on an enhancement, you might see some jagged edges or a little bit blurriness around the mouse pointer. Now, with ZoomText 10.1, the mouse pointer itself is really sharp. There's no harsh edges. So any of these enhancements I turn on, you're not going to see any pixelation around it. Okay, so, oops, that was the color enhancement. Like circle and moving. Okay, so all these enhancements you're already familiar with, but they're going to look much better in this product. Now with the color enhancements, and you may have noticed this a little bit with the pointer enhancements, as I changed it, it kind of faded in and out. I'll go ahead and turn one on here. Well, it didn't do it that time, but as you're switching enhancements, it may fade them in and out like the crosshairs. Okay, but with the color enhancements, if I turn on invert brightness, for example, you're going to see that the screen, and hopefully you can see that on the other end. If there's any lag, you might not see it. But as I turn the enhancement on and off, it will fade in and fade out rather than just, just kind of jumping to whatever color scheme I chose. Okay, you can turn this setting off if you want. If you don't like the transition effect for whatever reason, I believe it is under, I'm not sure. Do you recall where that setting is?
What's that, to adjust the transition?
Well, to turn off the transitions. I know there's a way to turn it off. I just need to find where it is. Anyway, maybe we'll get back to that. Nope. Oh, there it is. Okay. So if you want to turn those transition effects off, and again, it's really a personal preference. I don't think it's intrusive at all, but some people might not like it. If you go to the settings menu and then user interface, there's an option down towards the bottom that says enable transition effects for screen enhancements. Just uncheck that and click OK if you don't want that setting turned on. All right. So those are some of the new features that you're going to find in ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8. Now let's get to the really big new feature, which is our touchscreen support. So as I said at the top, you've got this icon in the upper left-hand corner, and I'm just putting my finger over it, one finger, and just dragging it around screen to show you that you can move it. All right, this can be anchored to a number of different points on screen. So you could have it in one corner versus another if you want. I mean, obviously you don't want to put it in the middle of your screen, so we don't allow you to do that. I'm going to keep it in the upper left-hand corner for right now. So there's two modes of operation for using a touch device. If you look at the icon right now, it looks like kind of a graphic of the Windows 8 start screen and a finger. That basically means you're in the Windows touch mode. So if I were to tap on things on screen, it's like using my mouse. If I were to tap on the ZoomText icon, okay, that's going to open up the UI. If I tap on any of these icons on my desktop, and again, I'm just touching these, you're going to see it's as if I use the mouse. And I can tap on items on the ZoomText toolbar, just like using my mouse. Okay, I'm going to minimize the UI. All right, so that's what the Windows touch mode is basically you're using your touch device like you normally would in Windows. Now, if I hold one finger down on that icon, or if I double tap the icon, it will change it to the ZoomText touch mode. And what this mode allows you to do is perform ZoomText gestures. For example, if I want to change my magnification level, all right, I can double tap with 3 fingers and then drag up or down. It's very similar to using the iPad and changing magnification level with that. So I'm going to double tap with 3 fingers and then drag up or down to decrease or increase my magnification level. Okay, it might be a little hard to tell, so let me bring up the UI so you have a little bit of context here. So again, double tap, dragging down will decrease, up will increase. You can see the magnification level is changing. So you have 2 ways to enter this ZoomText touch mode. One is by double tapping that icon with 1 finger. All right, that's going to switch it between Windows and ZoomText touch mode just by double tapping. Or if you're in the Windows touch mode and you just want to temporarily do a gesture, hold 1 finger on the icon. It's going to change its state to ZoomText touch mode. So if I use my left hand, and I'm right-handed, by the way, so if I use my left hand and hold 1 finger over the icon, it's now in the ZoomText touch mode. And then with my right hand, I can do my gesture, which in this case I'm going to do the double tap with 3 fingers and then drag down to decrease that magnification level. Okay? So you have 2 different ways of accessing the ZoomText touch gestures. Either you can double tap that icon to change its state permanently so that you're always in that mode, or if you just hold your finger over it, you can then perform your gesture, let go of the icon, and it'll revert back to Windows touch mode. I generally think if you're using it primarily as a touch device, like you're tapping on things like the type icon or other things on screen, if you're primarily using it for activating things on screen, I'd leave it in the Windows touch mode, and when you want to perform ZoomText gestures like changing your magnification level, hold 1 finger with 1 of your hands on the icon and then perform the gesture. Another handy one, if you want to pan the screen, because you're going to need to do this if you're magnified, just put 3 fingers on screen and then start dragging. Again, this is very similar if you've used an iPad to what you would do with their Zoom feature. So just 3 fingers, put it on the screen, and then drag left, right, up, and down. It's going to move your view. Okay, very simple to do that. Let's say the ZoomText UI is minimized, and I just tap the minimize icon. If I want to bring up the user interface, an easy way to do that, double tap with 4 fingers. Brings up the UI very quickly. Okay, again, I'll do that again. I'm in ZoomText touch mode. Double tap with 4 fingers, automatically brings up the UI. Okay, so you don't have to remember Control-Shift-U to bring up the interface. You can just use the touch gesture. So, all right, we've got the basics now. You've got your ability to change magnification level, double tap with 3 fingers, drag up or down. We can pan our view by just dragging 3 fingers. So now let's do something. Let's go ahead and open IE. So I've moved my view down. I'm going to let go of the touch icon, so I'm back in Windows touch mode. Notice the icon in the upper left. Now I'm going to just tap with 1 finger on the Internet Explorer icon. It's the same thing as the left click. We've opened IE. And now let's say I want to use ZoomText to read something back to me. All right? I'm going to first pan my view so I can get some text into view. And actually, you know what? Let's do this. Let's go to our blog. So I pan my view. Again, 3 fingers, just dragging them along on screen. Let go, then Windows touch mode. I'll tap the blog icon or tab. Let's go to our blog page. All right, we've loaded the blog. Let's pan our view. And let's say I want to start reading this article. Great thing is we've added a touch command to start app reader. It's really simple. When you're in ZoomText touch mode, just double tap with 1 finger where you want app reader to start.
My daughter Arden recently wrapped up her 4th swim team season. There are always challenges.
Okay, I went ahead and paused App Reader by just double tapping with 2 fingers. That will play or pause. So really simple to start App Reader with a touch device. Just double tap with 1 finger when you're in the ZoomText touch mode. Now, when we're in the App Reader tool mode, notice that there's no touch icon on screen. All right? Basically, any touch gesture we do is going to be a ZoomText command at this point once we're in App Reader. So the command you want to know for App Reader is double tapping with 2 fingers will play pause.
Challenges that come with being a visually impaired swim team.
If you tap with 1 finger on a word that's visible on screen, it'll resume the reading from that word. So I'm going to tap on the word since. It's about, I think it's the next sentence.
Since she knows I can't pick her from a crowd, Ardene's a good sport and keeps me up to date on her whereabouts.
Double tap with 2 fingers to pause. All right? So, again, single tapping on a word will resume App Reader from that word that you tapped on. Double tapping with 2 fingers will play pause. If you remember our command for panning from before, 3 fingers on screen will pan your view. So let's say you wanted it to resume, somewhere else that was off screen. I think this is what we were looking at before, but if I wanted to start on the word time on that last sentence, I could do that. Just like App Reader works previously, I still can't scroll the page, but I can scroll my magnified view with 3 fingers, and again, resume reading just by tapping with 1 finger.
Time where the best viewing spot will be and whether it makes sense to take some.
I don't know.
Feel compelled to find.
There we go. I was tapping too quickly. The other thing you can do while you're paused, you can navigate by word, just swiping left and right with 1 finger. So I'm moving with 1 finger left or right across the screen.
First, car. When, car.
Okay, so you can go left and right. If you want to have that word spelled to you, okay, double tapping with 1 finger will spell the word. Actually, wait, it'll say the word, spell it, and then phonetically spell it for you. So again, this is double tapping with 1 finger when App Reader is paused.
Car. C-A-R.
And in order for me to hear, so first thing it'll do, double tap with 2 fingers.
Car.
Reads the word. If I double tap again, it'll spell it. But you have to do it within 2 seconds, or else it's just going to say the word again. So it's speak, spell, and then phonetically spell the word if you double tap in succession. All right, so I'm going to do that now. So double tap with 1 finger.
Car.
Spells it. Double tap again.
C-A-R. Charlie Alpha Romeo.
Okay, so there's 3 different ways you can have the word read back to you. Either whole word, spell it, or phonetically spelled back to you. And that's double tapping with 1 finger while App Reader is paused. Okay, and again, remember to resume, double tap with 2 fingers.
Car when I could get wherever I needed to go on my 10-speed Motobocane bike.
All right, so that's a lot of the basics on using the touchscreen features in ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8. There are some other gesture commands like paragraph and sentence navigation. It's really hard to show it to you on the web because of how things are constructed. And if you want to see that, we do showcase that in our touch screen video. So that's really the basics. And just to go over these again, I'm going to exit out of App Reader. Again, first thing to remember is the touch icon. You need to be in the ZoomText touch mode in order for these gesture commands to work. Otherwise, it's just going to work like a normal tablet. So when you're in the ZoomText touch mode, dragging 3 fingers will pan your view. Double tapping with 3 fingers, keeping your fingers on the screen on the second tap, and dragging up or down will change your magnification level. Okay, double tap with 4 fingers brings up the ZoomText UI, and then double tapping with 1 finger will start App Reader from the word you've tapped on.
Absence of the voice over double tap delay. I was able to cap.
Okay, so really the best features for gesture, I think using App Reader by touch is one of the best features that we've had in the product in a really long time. It just works very well on a touch device. And just remember, some of those gesture commands. You don't have to know all of them, but it's very analogous to what you'd be doing on an iPad. For those of you that have an iPad, the gesture commands are pretty much exactly the same. A couple other things to note on touch screen. I found for myself when I wasn't using ZoomText, using this touch device was incredibly difficult because the icons were so small. I had a really hard time touching in the right location to make sure I was clicking a button or checking a box. So the nice thing about having ZoomText and magnifying things is that your target to tap on things is much bigger, making it a lot easier and you're less prone to mistakes. So I know that that wasn't, that's not why you use ZoomText to make you more accurate with a touchscreen device, but the fact that you're magnifying it means, like, for example, if I want to check this display whole towers only checkbox, really easy for me to do that, versus if I'm not magnified, that checkbox is going to be a lot harder. Same things with these group of checkboxes. Easy for me to tap Alt or Shift when I'm magnified, but if you're not, that's much harder to be as precise. So it's kind of an ancillary benefit to using magnification on a touch device. Another thing I'll show you, if you don't like how that touch icon looks, maybe you don't like the color or the size of it, you go to the Settings menu. Under that touch screen support setting, there are some additional settings where you can change the size, you can make it bigger, or color of the touch icon. Okay, so you've got 2 different colors, yellow or blue, and 3 different sizes. This one's pretty high contrast, as you can see, a white and blue color scheme. All right, so you can customize that as you like as well. And again, for those of you that don't have a touch device and you don't want it to show up, go to that touch screen support item on the Settings menu and uncheck Enable Touch Icon. That'll get rid of it for you. Okay? All right, so I think that pretty much does it for the new features in ZoomText 10.1 for Windows 8. Like I said, the big difference, if you've never used Windows 8 before or you're thinking about upgrading, the big difference is the Start screen. All right, this replaces your Start menu. You also have kind of this weird instance where applications may launch, and I forget what they call it now because they've changed the name so many times, but Internet Explorer, for example, has a desktop version of its application which looks like a regular Windows application, and a version that doesn't have file menus and things like that, that works a little bit differently. So depending on where you start it, if you start it from the half bar icon or if you start it by searching for it in the Start menu, you might get a little bit different experience. Part of that is because Microsoft is trying to meld a mobile phone operating system into Windows so that they have similar functionality and feel between their devices like their cell phone and tablets and laptop computers. So there's a bit of a transition going on, and I think they've done an okay job of it, but I think there's still a little bit of growing pains as far as the operating system goes. But as far as ZoomText goes, from what I've seen, our demonstration of it on the Surface Pro, it runs really well. I don't have any performance issues. The touch screen works great. I have no issues with it. So if touch support is something that you're keenly interested in, I think it works quite well with ZoomText at this point in time. So, and we will also be adding, a lot of you might be wondering about the Windows 7 product. We will be adding support for Windows 7 into the 10.1 product at some point in the future. Touchscreen support will be specific to Windows 8, though. So if that's important to you, that's going to be in the Windows 8 version of the product only. Okay? All right, so that does it for our demonstration. Now we're going to open it up to question and answer. So any of you that are logged in, and I think a few people might have logged in after I started, so if you missed any of the webinar, we will be posting a recorded version of it on our website later today. Just a few things before we open up to questions. I have our sales and support numbers listed there. We offer free technical support on the product, so even if you haven't purchased, tech support is available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So if you have any questions, feel free to call them. We also have a worldwide network of dealers that resell our product. So if you go to our homepage, ai2 or click on the Dealers tab on our homepage, they're listed by state here in the U.S. and then country internationally. We have free trial versions of ZoomText available on our website, so if you want to check out the Windows 8 product, there's a free 60-day trial available today. And if you've been waiting to purchase, we have been fulfilling orders digitally, but I think today or tomorrow we're going to be able to start shipping physical boxes. We just got our CDs in today, and we'll probably start shipping those
Today, actually.
We'll start shipping those today. So if you were waiting for that, don't wait any longer. All right, any questions for us? And again, feel free, type them into the chat panel, the questions panel, or if you click that raise hand button, I can unmute you and you can ask your question to the group. The only reason I don't like unmuting everyone is a lot of time there's background noise, and it's hard for people to hear and for us to hear any questions that might be there. Someone asked if ZoomText 10.1 supports Firefox. Yes, it does. Someone asked about the focus enhancement. I've noticed that sometimes the red box around the board is off the board when it is magnified. Why or can you adjust the block? There's technical reasons as to why we're not getting the correct location of things. I don't know all the details of that. You can't adjust it. There's no way for the user to adjust that. But basically, the information that we're getting from the operating system might not give us the correct location, which is why you might see it offset from what you're actually looking at. We've done a lot of work. I think the focus enhancement is better, at least from what I've seen in some instances, better than 10.0, but we will continue to improve that feature in the future.
Just before you go,
yeah.
I mean, isn't there a way, I mean, it might not help if it's totally off the word, but can't you go into the focus enhancement options and just choose what it looks like?
Yeah, you can change the
thickness and the...
If you go into the settings here for the focus enhancement and customize it, the frame, it's possible that the frame might not be the best solution. Maybe you want to use block or underline as your focus type, and it should be changing it here, but it's not. But you can change the color, the thickness, the transparency of it as well, which might help. The margin size might help you as well. You can make it a little bit wider. If I can click, I'm just having a tough time with the trackpad on this tablet. So yeah.
But yeah, just maybe, you know, if you play with it, perhaps one of the other options or some of those settings might help a little bit.
But there may be instances where we can't get the exact location of where focus is. And a lot of times it's not ZoomText, it's the information that we're getting from the operating system. There are some other questions that come in. Someone asked about the keyboard. It does work with Windows 8. There's a new version of the keyboard software that you can install that will support Windows 8. This is an important question that everyone should be clear on. So ZoomText 10.1 works in Windows 8 only. If you have if you have Windows 7, you'll need to be running ZoomText 10.0. So what we're doing is we're releasing our Windows 8 support in the 10.1 product first, and then we'll be adding support for Windows 7 to that product sometime in the future. We do not have any timetable for when that will be. I'm hoping sooner rather than later, but we don't have any estimate on that will be. So we will be adding support for Windows 7 into the 10.1 product. We're working on it as we speak. We just don't know when that will be available. Complete list of commands and gestures. You can find that in the user guide. I think all the gestures are listed in the user. Yeah, they're all listed in the user guide. You can even download that on our website if you go to the support page and click on documentation, or in ZoomText, you can go to the help menu and then ZoomText help, and it will be listed in there as well. Okay, so just to clarify, this product is Windows 8 only. It will not run on any other operating system at this time, but we will be adding Windows 7 support in later. And there are also a few features that currently do not work in Windows 8. The biggest one is our ZoomText camera feature. So again, any missing features that are not working currently, we are also adding in as part of that update with the Windows 7 support. So there's a couple things like the camera support and the desktop and text finder, for example, that do not currently work in Windows 8. But those are all things that we're aware of and we're working on literally as we speak. Michael asked a good question. He said, can you teach ZoomText to pronounce words that are common correctly? Yes, we actually did a tips and tricks video on this a couple weeks ago that shows you how to modify the NeoSpeech dictionary. If you go to our blog and just search for, I believe you just search for NeoSpeech, it'll show up. There's also on our knowledge base an article that gives you step-by-step instructions. So both the video or the knowledge base is where you're going to want to check that out. And you can find all of our videos, too, on our YouTube page. If you go to youtube.com/AI squared, every video is listed there, but it's probably easier to search the blog for it as well.
Oh, me?
One thing I do want to mention, too, if you haven't purchased ZoomText and you're thinking, well, maybe you've got a Windows 7 machine now and you don't know if you're going to get Windows 8. If you purchase the product today, you basically get both versions. You get 10.0, which you can use in Windows XP, Windows Vista, or Windows 7, and the 10.1 version, which will work in Windows 8. So if you buy today, you're guaranteed to have a product that will work with what you have, or if you're upgrading in the future to Windows 8. Okay, so we won't penalize you if you upgrade in the future and you purchase ZoomText after our release of the 10.1 product.
Plus, you will also get that free update for 10.1 when we've got the Windows 7 support. So that's not going to be another purchase. That's just going to be a free update for anyone who's already running 10.1.
Michael asked, when ZoomText is activated, it always says ZoomText 10.1. Can you stop this? Yes, you can prevent it from saying that, but it won't read any window titles when you open any application. That's part of our program echo. So anytime you open a new program, it'll read back to you what the window title is. You can turn that off by going to the reader menu. Whoops. I don't like this trackpad. Sorry about the herky-jerkiness here. Reader menu and then program echo. And you want to uncheck window titles. Okay, if you uncheck that, it won't echo any of the window titles, like the title in ZoomText here, which is ZoomText 10.1. Just keep in mind that it won't read any application when you open it. The title of it, like Internet Explorer or Microsoft Word, once that program becomes activated. Someone asked if there's a network license available for ZoomText 10.1. Not currently. We are working on a new network license for ZoomText 10.1. No release date on that yet. We're likely, I'm guessing we're probably 6 to 8 weeks out on that. But we do have our district license available in the interim, which is a workstation-based license. But the network license, we are working on. And it could be sooner, it might be later than that, but I'm guessing we're a good 6 to 8 weeks. That would be my assessment if I had to give you an estimate. I'm hoping for sooner.
In the meantime, I mean, it will certainly be more annoying for a network administrator, but And we do have, the trial is free for 60 days. So if you've got, a student or somebody who is desperately needing ZoomText on their Windows 8 machine, you could always, at least for temporary thing, install the trial on there.
Yep. Yep. And that can get you by for now. Web Finder does work with Windows 8. Someone asked that, and it does work in IE10 as well. District license is another type of multi-user license that we sell. It's effectively a workstation-based license. So if you have 5 workstations, you can buy a 5-user district license. Effectively, you have 5 activations. So the licenses are tied to the physical workstation. A network license is a concurrent license, meaning you can install it on X number of machines, but it only runs the number of instances running are based on the number of licenses you've purchased. So district is more of a fixed license type, fixed to the workstation. Network license is concurrent. So network is more flexible, but there are some instances where it may not be appropriate or usable for an organization. All right, any other questions for us here today? So far, so good. I mean, lots of good questions. I'm glad you guys took the time to attend today's webinar and ask us some really good questions. So keep them coming if you've got more. Good question. Someone asked if there's a USB version. Another thing that we're working on, do we have it?
Starting today as well.
Okay. Yep. We're starting to ship those out today. So that will be available. Functionality is exactly the same as the 10.0 USB. And I'll just mention while we're waiting to see if there's any other questions. If you have any follow-up questions after the webinar you may have forgot to ask, you can always email us. Our email address is learning@aisquared.com. And you can just email that if you have any follow-up questions that you may have forgot to ask. All right, well, if there are no other questions, we'll go ahead and end the webinar for today. Again, thank you guys for attending. Hope you enjoyed the webinar and hope you liked getting a look at some of these new features. And we hope you have a great rest of the day.